Hey guys, so this video is a continuation, if you will, of the previous video where I introduced look-ahead strategies. And this video is more regarding advanced concepts that you can use when you're more comfortable with the basics of look-ahead I talked about before. That being said, this video isn't directed towards beginners, but I still welcome you to watch in case you just want to see about certain aspects to be mindful of for the future, or if you're just super eager to just try to improve your look-ahead. Whatever the reason may be, let's get into it. Alright, so the first concept I want to cover is predicting when an F12 corner from the top layer will be in the bottom layer. So in the end of the last video, I was showing you how if you are solving an F12 pair that requires you manipulating a slot additional to the slot you are inserting the pair in, a corner piece you're tracking might actually go into that slot. So I'll give you an example here. So let's say I'm solving this pair over here, the blue and orange. There are two slots that are going to be manipulated. One obviously being where this block is, this block is going to go into, so over here, and also this slot right over here. So when I'm doing the RU2, the pieces of this in this slot are going to go elsewhere, right? So when I'm solving the cube, starting off with this pair, immediately one can notice these two corner pieces that I can use to track for my next F12 pair. So let's say I'm going to start with this one right here. So when I'm doing an RU2, what I notice is that this corner piece is actually going to be in the bottom layer, right? It's no longer going to stick in the top. And a trick to know this, or like understand when it's going to be in the top, when it's going to go from the top layer to the bottom layer, and thus you should move on, is the moment when you see that corner piece hugging the cross edge piece here, okay? Right when I see this, I know this is not going to come back up in the top layer, so I should just move on and find another corner piece. Why? Because, well, let's think about it, right? When is this corner piece ever going to come up? If when I'm going to be inserting the block in this slot, so the green and orange pair, or if I'm manipulating another F12 pair, and it just so happened that the slot, the pieces in this slot are going to come out. But so I'd be swapping a corner from the top layer with this corner, so it'll come out of the top layer. But that's not going to happen again here when I'm solving this F12 pair, because this is just going to go in the back, right? So right when that happens, the trick is, you know that it's going to be in the bottom layer, you immediately move on. And because in the beginning we identified two F12 potential candidates for my next F12 pair, I know that, all right, I should look into the green and red piece for my next F12 pair. So right when this happens, I'm going to look, I'm going to find, all right, I need to find another corner piece. I know my green and red is going to be in the top layer, because there's no way on earth, I'm only manipulating two slots, right? This slot and this slot, this is going to stay in the top layer, so I know I can use that for my next F12 pair. And then as I'm solving this, I'm looking for the next edge piece. I know this is right over here, so I just carry on with the process of my F12, and yeah. All right, cool. So I'll just do another example of this, which also solidifies the concepts we discussed in the previous video. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to solve the corner and the edge piece, right? And I'm going to have to do, you know, the RU prime, R prime to pair these two up. And I notice that when I'm solving this pair, I notice that, hey, there's this white corner piece that I can use for my next F12 player. But right when I'm pairing it up, I notice that this is immediately hugging this edge piece, so this cross piece right here. So I know right off the bat I need to move on. And because I'm still seeing that there are none on the top, and that this is not going to be, this is not a usable corner piece for my next F12 pair because it's not white, I know that I immediately have to go to the next empty slot and take out that corner, because that's going to be a usable piece. That has to be. And I notice that the corresponding edge is right here, so I just carry on with the F12 process, and yeah. Alright, so another concept is deduction, and this really comes from practice, but essentially deduction requires you to be able to logically identify a piece based on the colors you can see and or your spatial awareness of where other pieces are. And deduction is really helpful to avoid confusing a piece for another, because if you do that, you're going to waste a lot of time undoing your mistake. So let's start off with the first tool of deduction, which is logically figuring out what piece is what. So in this example here, I want to solve the green-red pair. So I see this green-red corner piece right here, and I need to find where the corresponding edge piece is. Now the beauty of deduction is that you don't need to unnecessarily rotate or do U moves to find the edge piece because I have all the information right in this state for me to know where that piece is. So from this angle, I can see 3 edge pieces that are green. So here, here, and here. And what I notice is that 2 edge pieces are yellow and orange respectively, which means that this piece right here must be the red piece. After all, there are only 3 edge pieces, or 4 if we count the cross edge piece here. So if we really see all the others, then this one must be the red-green over here. Now, you want to use deductive skill and look ahead so it's instantaneous, and thus you can avoid pauses. So as you're solving a pair, you are able to deduce where the corresponding edge piece is, and then you can go right into that pair after. Now, to bring this up a notch, let's say that I didn't have such a generous angle right here where I can see all 3, and let's say I had it like this. Where I don't know if this is the green-red or this is the green-red, right? It could be green-red here and green-orange here, or vice versa. Now, for these cases, you have to be vigilant of where pieces go as you're solving the other F12 pair that you're currently solving. So let's say I was doing, let's say I was solving this one on just a simple 3-move insert, and as I'm solving this, I noticed that this is an orange coming out from here, that's coming out from the slot, and there's a green here. So it's that when I see this and I'm confused, or like, oh, I only see a green here, I need to find the green in the red edge piece while I'm solving this. I noticed that because I was solving this, that this was actually the green and orange piece, and thus right as I'm inserting, I can go, all right, then this piece right here must be the corresponding edge piece, so I can go instantaneously into that F12 pair and carry on with the process. So let's say I'm solving this orange-blue pair right over here. So I'm going to be first manipulating this slot over here to set these 2 up. So the pieces in this slot are going to go away. But as I'm doing that, I notice that this blue-red edge piece is just going to go in that slot. So I'm going to make a rough note of that. And then I'm going to carry on with my solve here. And I'm going to do this as my next pair. And I notice that there are no other corner pieces at the top layer. But this corner piece, as I'm solving these 2, is going to come out. And I know where this the corresponding blue-red edge piece is because I insert it in the back here. So I'm going to carry on with this, inserting this, and I'm going to instantaneously go into solving this pair right over here. Now, again, this does take a lot of practice to develop through slow solving because it takes time to understand where pieces are on top of doing your look ahead and solving an F12 pair. But this skill, and as well as logical deduction, will start to come more naturally with practice. So you don't need to stress about it too much right now. If you're not getting the hang of it, it'll naturally come. Okay, so the next concept is being able to evaluate pairs efficiently, and this happens when you have multiple possible options of your next F12 pair, but you want to pick the best one in interest of a faster time. Now, there are 2 instances of this, and one is simply that you are solving your F12 pair and you recognize you have multiple options for your next pair, and you have to be able to quickly identify which one is faster to execute. So for this case, when I'm going to be solving this pair, I notice that I have this option right here, and once I insert this pair, this corner will also come up. So I need to determine, as I'm solving it, which one would be faster to execute, and I notice that this one is going to be a bit better than this one because I have to rotate and then pair it up and then insert. So this one is a lot easier. I just have to go like that, and I can keep these 2 as the second option for my next F12 pair in case there's nothing going well for the green and orange. So I can continue off and go like that. Now, the other part of evaluating pairs efficiently, and this is a much harder skill to develop, is being able to see which combination of solving pairs will yield a faster execution. So here I have the green-red and then the orange-green pairs that I can use for my next F12 pair option. And I need to now understand, should I solve the green-red pair first and then the green-orange, or should I do it the other way around? So let's start off with that first example I just said. So let's say I started by solving the green-red first. So I have to insert and I solve the pair like this. And when I do that, I notice that I would be inserting this, the corresponding edge piece in this slot right here, which means it's a lot harder for me to then solve this pair, because I essentially have to do rotation, take this out, and then another, basically another rotation and then insert. So that's a little less ideal compared to, let's look at our other option, which would be pairing these two up, inserting in the back, and then just inserting the red and the green like that. So based on that, you'd be able to determine, okay, the red and the orange would have been the better option, just from the state that we were in. And you might be wondering, like, oh, I can't be able to visualize all of that before I even start to solve. Well, the thing is that you actually kind of build a rough intuition of which pair you should attack first, and that would yield a better option for your next pair. So it's okay if it doesn't really make that much sense now. As you play around with the cube, as you're practicing, you'll start to get a feel of which combinations are more efficient than other combinations. Okay, and now we have the concept of modifying your pair insertion to set up an easier F-well pair case. So let's say I'm solving this red-green pair and I'm about to insert it, and I've decided that the next pair I'm targeting is going to be this this blue-red pair right here. Now I have to figure out which method of inserting the pair would yield the easiest F-well case. So there's basically three ways of inserting a pair. Let's go over them one by one. Right, I could just do a simple RU prime R prime insertion, and I'd get this case, which is okay, not really ideal. Or I could do an RU2 R prime, which would get this case, and I know how to solve it from this angle, which isn't that bad. Or I could do a sledge, and that conveniently sets up this pair right here. So a sledge is the best way to go. And I'll just do another demonstration because we got kind of lucky with that one. So I'm going to be solving or inserting this red-green, and my next F-well pair will be this red-blue over here. So I can do a simple RU prime R prime insert, and I'll get this 3-move case, which is pretty easy. Or I could do an RU2 R prime, which would lead me to this case, which isn't as good as the RU prime R prime. And then I could do a sledge, which would give pretty much the same case. So overall, I should just stick to the simple RU prime R prime insertion. Now, this compared to other concepts is actually not as hard to get a strong grasp of. It really requires you just to experiment when you're inserting pairs, and you'll eventually build patterns that you will recognize intuitively of which way you should insert your pair in interest of your next pair to essentially set up an easier next pair. Alright, so now I'll just be doing a couple of example solves to apply some of the concepts that we talked about. So let's start off with this first scramble right here. My first pair is just going to be this orange and blue pair right here. So as I'm solving this, I think my first corner piece that I'm going to be tracking is going to be the blue and red, because that's the only one in the top layer. So I'm going to go ahead and start solving this, and I notice that this corner piece is now attached to this edge piece. So what do I know? I immediately have to go on, because this is not going to come in the top layer. But I also swapped the corner in this slot with this. So this piece is definitely going to be in the top layer, and I can track that now. So I'm inserting, and I notice the corresponding edge piece is right here. And at the same time, when I was doing that, I also noticed that the second slot that I'm manipulating, which is the slot where this pair is going into, there's a corner piece coming out from here. So I noticed that it's orange here as I'm solving, and I can see it's green here from this angle. So, and the corresponding edge is right here. It's right in front of my face. So I have a bar here, and I have these two right here. Obviously, it's just so much easier to solve this, so I'll go ahead and solve that. But the manner in which I am going to be solving it is not just going to be a simple L prime U L, but rather, because I have interest of this pair here, I can actually preserve it. So I can set it up. So I can do L prime U2 L, and then I have a free pair right here. And I know that from when I was solving the blue and orange piece, that the blue, and white corner pieces right here, not to be confused with the red over here, which is actually going to be yellow, right? So I know that I have this piece over here, and instead of doing a normal insertion, what I can do, given how these pieces are oriented, I can actually do RU2 R prime, and that's going to set up a 3-move case. So a lot easier to deal with, even though the other case was pretty easy, but this is certainly easier. And yeah, much more efficient F12. Alright, so for this next scramble here, I'm going to do the red-blue as my first pair over here. And as I'm going to be doing that, I noticed that there are no corner pieces on the top layer. So I'm just going to have to be vigilant of if anything comes out of the top layer. So as I'm solving this, I noticed that I have a corner piece coming out because it was in the slot where these two are going into. So it's red and green. So I'll be looking for its corresponding edge piece. At the same time, I noticed that this green orange edge piece is coming out, and this green, there's also this green yellow. So that's actually helpful because I know that the corresponding edge piece is not here, but I see a green on the side over here. So that means that I can actually deduce that this is going to have to be the green red, right? I don't have to rotate, but I know just from seeing these other two being here that this has to be the green red. So I can just go ahead and solve that too. At the same time, I notice that while I'm doing that, this F12 block is out here, and the corner piece for this is over here. Now, this is a pretty easy F12 case to deal with, but compared to this, but in interest of evaluating efficient pairs of which sequence of solving pairs would yield like the faster execution, I'm actually going to solve these two first because I'll actually preserve this easy F12 case. Instead, if I solved this one first and then this, I'd probably get a nastier F12 case for the green and orange. So I'm going to go ahead and solve these by rotating, and then you see how these are preserved. I'll go ahead and solve the blue and the orange like that. Alright, and we'll just do one last scramble over here. So I'm going to be solving the green-red first, and I noticed this right here, this corner piece, I can use for my next F12 pair, and I also notice its corresponding edge is right here actually, so that's kind of convenient to track. So I'll go ahead and solve this. I noticed that this corner piece, which was also in the top layer, but it's now more apparent to me. So that's going to remain in the top layer because it's definitely not going to be coming in here. These pieces are coming in there. So I'm going to continue solving and still tracking these two, and also kind of tracking this just to see if maybe I get a better case. I don't see its corresponding edge piece, but I know that this is here and this is here. So I'll go ahead and solve these two. And at the same time, I notice a red edge just came out, and from deduction, I know that that must be the blue-red edge, so the corresponding edge to this, because I see red and yellow here, and then we've already solved red and green. So I can go ahead, solve that. At the same time, I notice that this corner piece is coming out, and because of deduction, once again, I see a blue here, and I see a yellow-blue here. So this must be the orange-blue because we solved the other, well, we're solving the other blue here, the blue and red. So see the corner is right here, and the edge must be here, so I can go ahead and solve it like that. And yeah. Alright, that's going to be it for me, guys. Hopefully you learned something new and useful for bringing your look ahead to the next level. I'm going to be making a look ahead or F12 example solves video, so you can see more instances of my applications of these concepts there. And if you have any questions, comments, or video recommendations, you can let me know in the comments or even in the forum I talked about in the outro. And I will be more than happy to look at those. And I know how hard and frustrating look ahead can be, and that's why I'm making these videos for you to learn tips, tricks, and concepts that will hopefully help improve your look ahead significantly and also accelerate your learning process such that you don't have to spend as much time practicing to achieve a certain speed cubing goal, like a certain time. But yeah, that's going to be it for me, guys, and now let's go into the outro. Hey guys, that's going to be it for me for this video. I hope you found my examples and explanations insightful. Now, to help me improve my content to better fit your learning style, I would really appreciate it if you could spare a couple of seconds just to fill out this feedback form, and its link is in the description. So here you can let me know what went well, what didn't go well, and what aspects you would like me to include or work on in the future. But anyways guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.